tuned in to Grown Folks Production. In the mix. With the commish, Nate.
And welcome. Hide your kids, hide your wife. Press Pass Live is back. Welcome to Press Pass Live, your weekly podcast show for the world's longest and oldest online CFM, the OMFL. Thank you for hanging out with me. We're going to get rid of this really fast. I think we're getting rid of this. No, now we're going to get rid of this. There we go. I can't wait to jump into it. I am your host, the commish. I don't know what I am. I'm having a stroke right now. It's been a long day. Let me welcome in my co-host right now, your owner of the Atlanta Falcons, the commissioner of the Deuce, Mr. Maniac. How you doing today, bud?
I am doing great, man. Got a sick kid today, but everything else has been going pretty well. So looking forward, as always, to talking about the OMFL here on Press Pass Live, because it's never boring in the OMFL. So
I blame Pootie T. His wife is sick. We're gonna blame her for getting your son sick. I don't know if we can do that, but that's what we're gonna do anyway. What's up, Birdman? Good to see Mr. Birdman around. Why don't we do a little recap and see how long this is going to take? But let's get over there. Let's do some recap, and let's start at week number 13. And I'm going to hand it off to you for that one.
All right, week number 13. And as always, there's been a lot of games going on. And you know me, I can talk. And so I've tried to limit my games to talk about. So I've got several here on week 13. It was 6, and we're going to start off with the very top one, which is my team, the Falcons. I hate talking about my team, but this was a phenomenal game. If you guys weren't able to catch it, it was a good game. It was one of those keep your butt puckered up, because it was just lots of stuff going on. The yards for the game right here, the box score: offensive yards gained 332 for the Falcons, 213 for the Jets. Falcons defense was playing lights out. Offensive rush yards, both teams struggled: 74 for the Falcons, 62 for the Jets. 258 yards for the Falcons, only 151 for the Jets. First downs: Falcons with 20 first downs, the Jets with 10. Skipping down to total yards: 361 total yards for the Falcons, 238 for the Jets. Jets had 2 turnovers, Falcons had 1. 8 third down conversions to only 1 by the Jets in this game. And then you look at the time of possession: the Falcons 26.57 to 13.03 for the Jets. So that was a big reason why the Falcons were able to get a victory in this game. Other big reason was Parker Colt had a pretty decent game: 310 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was 19 to 25, but he was sacked 6 times, so he was under duress the whole game, but was able to maintain this game. Zach Wilson had receptions. He was 11 of 19. Not very good in the pocket. He's only sacked once, but he was harassed quite a bit that game. Only 160 yards passing. Rushing yards, again, both guys couldn't get anything going. Robinson for the Falcons, 51 with a touchdown. 19 carries, 2.7 yards. Not very many yards per carry, but toting the rock nonetheless. Breece Hall had 5 for 21 for 4.2 yards a carry and a touchdown. Zach Wilson put in 17 yards. 8 yards a carry, and his backup, Mr. Israel, was 17. And then the backup for the Falcons with 15, and Algier with 9 for the Falcons. So there was no lack of trying in the rushing game. It's just both defenses were stopping that run. Big play man for the Falcons on the offensive side: Drake London with 6 catches, 110 yards and a touchdown. Tolbert 6 for 98. Duvernay 3 for 51. The leading receiver for the Jets was Wilson with 4 for 43. Hardeman 2 for 45, and then Dylan Hill with 3 catches for 47 yards. Look at the defense real quick, since we're talking about the Jets defense getting all those sacks. Your tackle leader for the game was Devin Bush with 13. And that's for the Jets. The tackle leader for the Falcons was 5 with cornerback Adrian Shepard. Sack leader, though, Quentin Williams was in the backfield, like I said, the whole game. 2 sacks in the game. Plotch.
What a
I guess
name.
that's how you...
Plotch.
Plotch. Plotch took the plunge and plotched the quarterback on his seat quite a bit with 2 sacks of his own. Townsend, his import from last Madden, had a sack, and he was also just harassing all night long. Franklin Myers with 1 as well. We had a couple of guys on the Falcons that had a half sack. Anderson, Iwasu, and McGrone
Now,
also had a half sack.
I'm not good at math, but 3 half sacks only total 1.5 sacks. So I'd love for somebody to tell me how that worked out.
Yeah, I guess they all quarter sacked it. I don't know. They can't break it down into quarters, so they just gave half sacks to each one. That is kind of odd, though. 3 interceptions in the game. Converse had 1 for the Jets. Cortez 1 for the Falcons, and Smith also had the other one. So this was a good game, though.
Yeah,
definitely one that.
I'm glad you broke down the stats, but you got to tell me how, with this offensive production, the time of possession production, the third down, how the hell did the Jets keep this so close?
It was really just the breakdown of the game. If you look at it, it was just clock control. I had the ball there for 29 minutes or whatever it was. And so just methodical, 26 minutes, almost 27 minutes, just methodical, down the field, very slow. I went back and watched the game when Kobe had streamed it. He was commenting on it and stuff. He was like, I didn't have the ball at all. So that's really, I think, the case in this game. I just kept the ball away from him on offense, just kind of controlled the clock and limited his chances with the ball. And that's how I got the victory. So, yeah, again, I hate talking about my own games but this was such a good game, though, and definitely probably could be one that could be submitted for Classic. But another one we're going to talk about, we could talk about the Carolina Panthers and the Buccaneers. I know Kevin's having a down season with the Bucs. He's only got 4 wins on the season, but man, this game was entertaining. 410 yards for the Panthers, 439 for the Bucs, 217 rushing yards for the Panthers, and 132 for the Bucs. There was no lack of rushing yards in this game, that's for sure. 193 yards passing for the Panthers, and then the Bucs had 307, 19 first downs for the Bucs, 17 for the Panthers. So defenses were not in play in this game. Definitely, you can tell that by the score. The total yards, 446 to 458. Time of possession was almost dead even. 1959 for the Panthers, 2001 for the Bucs. Looking at player stats here, Ryder, 316 yards, a touchdown, no picks, 1 sack, 13 to 21. So really was very efficient with the ball, 61%. Bryce Young only had the 1 mistake there with the pick, but he was 13 of 17, 76% completion percentage, 205 yards. So definitely was on his A game, except for that 1 throw. And then you got Miles Sanders, 17 carries, 171 yards, 3 touchdowns. Did have a fumble, but man, he was on fire. And the little unknown guy here that seems like that Kev has just turned into a superstar, Sean Tucker, 24 carries, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns. The guy is small, but man, he just seems to pack a punch whenever he gets the ball. And not much stats there from the backups there, but looking at the receiving yards, Trey Palmer here for the Bucs, 4 catches, 129 yards, a touchdown. Aiden Wilson with 3 catches, 106 yards, 0 touchdowns.
That'll make me want to punch a cat.
Yeah, so he got 3 catches, man, but it seemed like every time he was catching, it was a big play from that tight end spot there. Justin Redd, also another tight end. Must have been tight end month or tight end week. 2 catches for 82 yards, 41 with the long. Godwin with 4 catches for 61. And then the leading receiver for the Panthers here, 2 catches from Hamler, 40 yards and a touchdown. So between those 2 guys, look like they were the playmakers for the offensive side, getting the ball in the end zone. Defensive look here, tackle leader Devin White for the Bucs, 12 tackles, had 2 tackles for a loss and 1.5 sacks. So he was just the Swiss Army knife in this game everywhere. And then looking at the sacks, again, he was leading sack leader. Gutierrez had 1 for the Bucs. Brown had 1 for the Panthers. Hall had another one, and a half sack there by Vita Vea. Your interception leader for this game was rookie Andrew Lawrence for the Bucs. So he was the lone pick off artist in this game. But man, this game was tight, close all the way to the end. 34-31, though the Carolina Panthers get the victory over the Bucs. Next up, we got the Bengals versus the Buffalo Bills. Mr. Bill traded off the Bills, and Big Hurt, again, like we talked about before, he's taking over this team. Score shows a 41-37 victory for the Buffalo Bills. Let's look and see what happened here. Offensive yards gained 501 yards for the Bengals, 422 for the Buffalo Bills. Only 45 rushing yards for the Bengals, 87 for the Bills. 456 yards passing for the Bengals, 335 for the Buffalo Bills. 16 first downs for the Bengals, 26 for the Bills. Man, they were chugging away and moving the chains all game long. Turnovers, the Bengals did have 2. Buffalo only had 1, so it's probably one of the big factors in the win here. Time of possession was heavy in favor of Buffalo with 24-26 compared to 15-34. Player stats: 5 touchdowns for Josh Allen, 1 interception, 352 yards, 2 sacks, 28 of 39 for 71%. Burrow had a really good day as well, 456, 3 touchdowns, did have 2 picks, a 92 for a long there, so had a big play. 19 of 32, 59% completion percentage. Rushing yards: McGee, the big X factor guy, didn't look like he was given the ball quite enough in this game. Only 9 carries, 49 yards. He was moving the chains, but he did have a touchdown. McCaffrey here, CMC, 17 carries, 47 yards. Again, both guys look like they kind of struggled a little bit to get the running game going. Damian Harris with 5 for 32. Looking at your receiving yards, Jamar Chase, 6 catches, 231 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's averaging almost 40 yards a catch.
He's got more rack yards in this game than my receivers combined for the season.
Yeah, I don't even know what that looks like, man. It's insane. This guy is just, once he catches the ball, he's gone. 92 yards was the long, so he had the big play. Stephon Diggs for the Bills, 8 catches, 122 yards, and 2 touchdowns as well. Both of those guys were giving you the reason why they're the top targets on their teams. Dyson here with 5 for 131. Again, almost 23 yards per catch, 1 touchdown. He had a long of 75. Looks like Denver is like the long ball here. He likes that long ball, so he's got those big plays. And Dalton Kincaid,
I can't.
With 10
receptions by a tight end.
10 with 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did have a receiver with 8, so he kind of squeaked that one out. But man, that's the reason why he had to throw the ball so much, because I had to catch up with Stanley with 4 receptions for 74 yards. Higgins for the Bengals with 4 for 48. McCaffrey also had 3 catches for 36 yards. So everybody was getting the ball there except for the other wide receiver, because the Kincaid got all the catches and Diggs got all the catches. Defense, we're looking at the tackle leader from the game. Awuzie had 8 for the Bengals, and your tackle leader for the Bills with Kenneth Murray Jr. with 6 sacks from this game, 2 from Sellers, and that was it. Interceptions, Whitehead with 1, Fair with 1, and then Abraham with 1 from the Bills there. So again, this defense was not in this game. So the offenses were just moving up and down the field. Again, it looked like Cincy was going for all the big plays, and Buffalo kind of had a little bit more of the ball control there. But it was a good game. 41-37, Buffalo gets the victory. And we got 2 more. Giants at the Lions. This one would be a 38-34 game here. Detroit would get the win. So let's look and see what happened in this game. 404 yards offense for the Giants, 478 for the Lions. 134 yards rushing for the Giants, 127 for the Lions. Offensive passing yards, 270 for the Giants, 351 for the Lions. Lions getting it done with that rookie quarterback that they got. First downs, 23-18. Lions winning that one. Turnovers, no turnovers in this game. That's kind of hard to believe, but that is the stat in this game. Time of possession was pretty close, 22:07 for the Lions, 17:53 for the Giants. I almost started calling them the Jets, but looking at player stats, Mr. Grubbs, the rookie, he's kind of solidifying himself possibly for a Rookie of the Year candidate.
We're never going to hear the end of this. I hope you all know that. We're never going to hear the end of it.
Yeah, Trey's going to run with it now. He's like, oh, well, they said it on Press Live. He's going to be the, offensive rookie of the year. So he's got in the bag. But man, 5 touchdowns. You can't hardly say nothing against that. That's just, on key. And this was a battle of actually 2 rookies in this game. So Charles Norris also did really well for the Giants as well. 286, 3 touchdowns, zero picks. He was sacked twice. Grubbs, though, 23 of 26, 88%. Man, he was clicking. And then Norris, 19 of 33, 57%. Gibbs had 10 carries for 83 yards, 8.3 yards. I mean, he was throwing the ball so well. He didn't have to run the ball. But Oldham, man, what names? Oldham. Isaiah Oldham was 8 carries, 46 yards. Didn't have a touchdown. Stanford, the wide receiver, probably this was an end around. He had 2 rushes, 45 yards, and a touchdown. Colin was taking a play out of Trey's playbook there on that one. Conley, we saw this guy. He was a impact rookie last season. While he's still impacting games in his sophomore season or whatever, but he's 5 receptions, 142 yards, 3 touchdowns. Man, he was catching the ball for points. 60 yards was a long reception. Stanford, the rookie guy for the Giants, 5 receptions, 104 yards and a touchdown. And Hyatt also had 3 catches for 84 yards as well. Solis, 3 for 59, and Gibbs also out of the running the backfield for the Lions had 5 catches, 58 yards as well. Moving on to the defense. I just got a text, so I'm trying to multitask here. For the defensive side, tackle leaders from this game, 16 for Damian Wayne. Again, every time I see this guy, I always think of D. Wayne. And so 16 tackles, 4 for a loss, and a sack. This guy was phenomenal. Bruce Ross, middle linebacker rookie. And Trey just knows how to pick those good impact rookies, man. I don't know. It seems like they're always in the top there. 11 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss. Your sack leaders for the game. We always talked about Wayne there. Hand from the Lions with 1. Rodriguez with 1. Interceptions. There was no interceptions. So, again, though, we had the Lions, they're playing for the top spot in the NFC side. The Giants are kind of playing for pride at this point. And so this was a great game, though, that you can definitely see a lot going into this game. And last but not least, we're going to talk about the Condors versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know I don't know how you did less games and talked longer. I don't know how that's possible, Maniac. I don't know. I'm trying.
We're 25 minutes deep. We're not even through week 1 recap.
I'm trying, man. Uh, Orlando offensive yards gain was 453 to Kansas City 432. Man, I'm trying to talk as fast as I can too, man. I'm like stumbling over my tongue. Offensive rush yards 112 for the Condors, 115, so both even in this stat. Offensive pass yards 341 for the Condors, 317 for the Chiefs. 27 first downs for the Condors, 22 for the Chiefs. Both guys were moving the chains. Turnovers, though, were an indicator in this game with 2 for the Chiefs, none for the Condors. And going down to time possession, well, this was telling right here. 24:55 for the Condors to only 8:42 for the Chiefs. They just didn't have the ball. And so, but you look at the stats, another 5 touchdown game performance. We're seeing the quarterbacks kind of take over in this week. Just kind of seeing a theme here. 353, 5 touchdowns, no picks for Anthony Richardson for the Condors. He did get sacked twice. Mahomes, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 317 yards, was sacked once, 23 of 71. Both guys were really proficient with the ball. The completion percentage was really high, but just so mistake there from Mahomes probably cost them a possession. The rookie Harden, 19 carries, another guy that's making an impact in this league so far this season, 101 yards, 1 touchdown, really moving the rock. Jonathan Taylor, we've seen him win MVP of the league, I believe the first season, 15 carries, 72 yards, 4.8, no touchdowns. Kennard is back up 7 for 17, and Grant 4 for 14 there for the Chiefs. Looking at receiving yards, whoa, Josh Downs, man, was he getting force-fed the ball or what? 15 catches, 199 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Somebody double or triple team this guy. Holy moly. Aiden Nash, the rookie tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs, 7 for 99, 2 touchdowns. Clinton was 6 for 91. Kelsey, 2 for 65. Isaiah Likely, 4 for 52, 2 touchdowns. So if Downs wasn't getting the ball, Likely was getting the ball. Man, that's crazy. I can't even do that probably if I wanted to. But, man, Downs was on fire, I guess. Defensive stats, we're looking at tackle leaders. Blackman here with 9 for the Condors. He did have an interception as well. And Brian Cook, 8 with 2 tackles for a loss for the Kansas City Chiefs. Sacks, Watson had 1. Gallimore had 1 for Orlando. And then Watkins had 1 as well for the Chiefs. And then also we just already talked about Blackman there with the interception. But that is it for week 13.
Trey, I see what you did there. You guys are all killing me with these tight end catches. Oh my God. At least we're staying within the FPR. Week number 14 had a bunch of really good games. Pittsburgh comes out on top of Jacksonville 33-29, but I'm not 100% sure this was played or not. I think since he's in the chat, he'll probably tell me. This was a game, though, that's going to represent how good Jacksonville could be if and when he gets back to being consistent. Moved into a new house. Life is fluid for him. A lot of things going on. He hasn't been here as much as I think he would like to be. This is a game showing that stepping in and only playing, CPU game. Never mind. All right, I'm going to shut up now and just keep this thing rolling. I did watch this one, Miami versus Buffalo. All offense. Anytime you play Miami or Buffalo, it seems to be all about the offense. 21 points scored in the second quarter for Buffalo, just to be answered coming out of half with 21 from Miami. Such an explosive offense. These two quarterbacks can make it happen on every area of the field. Plus with their legs, which is one area I think Hitchens doesn't get used enough, is with his legs. He did throw 3 picks in this game, but McCaffrey having an outstanding game. Hasn't quite been the running back that we've seen in the past, but Jalen Waddle over the last few weeks has been going off on just crazy, like unhinged. You just can't keep him covered. He had 10 receptions for 153 yards in this game. Cleveland falls to Cincinnati 38-35 in the Buddy Bowl. 28 points scored in the fourth quarter of this one. Back and forth, back and forth. This is the kind of game that I wish I could call and know that was happening. This one happened really early in the day. Another OMFL Instant Classic game. I hope that you guys are submitting these games because these are really great games. Tampa Bay beats Arizona 42-35. We got to watch a little bit of this one. That was a really, really good game. New York Jets with a 24-21 victory over the Toronto, whatever they are called. I already forgot. The Mounties, I think is maybe their name. The Giants are starting to figure some things out, especially with this rookie quarterback. He didn't have a great game today, but overall, he's been getting that percentage up. He's been getting the big plays and the touchdowns up. They are continuing to figure things out there. The Detroit Lions, I said Buffalo because I had Buffalo still in the mind, with a 28-23 victory over the San Diego Chargers. A massive, just staple flag in the ground victory there for the Detroit Lions, who clearly are one of the teams to beat here in the NFC. They got a turnover there on the defensive side of the Detroit team. 18 points scored in the second quarter, 14 points for the Chargers. San Diego, I'm just all over with these names. Y'all are changing them around too much, but Grubbs, again, shining in this game. Not super sexy stats, but here's the sexiest: 0 turnovers, 70% completion percentage. The Chargers are able to hang in there with a really good run game, an efficient pass game. Gibbs, I should say, had a great game with 130 on the ground. Grubbs using his legs with 52 on the ground. Just a really, really good victory there for the New York Giants. And that's a look at week number 14. Turning it over to you to look at week number 15, which we're currently in.
We are currently in week 15. The games that I had marked down earlier were 4 different games I was looking at. Dolphins at Bucks. This game, I mean, you look at this.
Did you watch it?
Score. I did not watch it. I wish I would
watched
have.
This game. The last 3 minutes of this game were some of the craziest 3 minutes that you will ever see. You got to go back and watch this one. Another instant classic that I hope those guys go ahead and put in for.
Yeah, you look at that total score there, 48-47. You're going to go like, what on earth happened in this game? And you look at the stats here, 555 yards passing for just the Dolphins alone. Sometimes we don't see both teams have a total of 550 yards passing. 584 for the Bucks. Rushing yards, who cares? The Dolphins only had 51. The Bucks only had 85. Oh man, it was first downs 28-23. The Dolphins win that battle, and then you look at the turnover battle here. Bucks did turn the ball over twice. The Dolphins only did once. Third down conversions 7 to the Bucks, only 4 for the Dolphins. Something tells me though the Dolphins had a lot of big plays and didn't worry about first downs because they were getting into the end zone. Red zone offensive touchdowns 5 for the Dolphins compared to 2 for the Bucks. Time of possession almost pretty much down the center here, 20:52 for the Dolphins, 19:08 for the Bucks. Players, looking at the quarterbacks here, Hitchens 525, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, 6 touchdowns. He was sacked 5 times as well. 29-39, 74%. Ryder kind of getting back in the swing of things a little bit here, kind of late in the season, but 524, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick, sacked 4 times, 15-24, 62%. But both quarterbacks were very efficient in this game. Again, like I said, who cares about the rushing because it was all about the passing. But Denzel Williams did say, hey, don't forget about me because, you know, I want to be Rookie of the Year as well. 13 carries, 68 yards, 5.2 yards a carry. And again, we're talking about this hidden gem here. Sean Tucker of the Bucks, 16 for 49, only 3.1, but he did get the ball in the end zone twice for the Bucks. Looking at receiving yards because that's where all the stats were. Receptions for the Bucks. Palmer had 6 but 225 yards, averaging almost 40 yards a catch, 2 touchdowns, and did have a long of 54. And then you get over to the Dolphins, Jalen Waddle, 11 catches, 217, 2 touchdowns, long of 62. And then you get to the other side of the ball for the Bucks. Here was Godwin. He had 5 for 163, 2 touchdowns, 60 of long. This was the long ball game, and I think that's what we should name it if they submitted to classic, long ball game, because Tyreek Hill had 7 for 160, 2 touchdowns, 61 for a long. This bombs away, and then you throw in the tight end Rhett here with 3 for 120, a touchdown, 72 for a long, and no defenses were showing up in this game. I think they stayed on the bus. 4 receptions for Schoonamaker, 4 for 73 and a touchdown. Hey, guess what? He didn't have anything extremely long except for 25. So, and then Jackson, rookie wide receiver for the Dolphins, 53 yards on 4 catches. Man, they were just slinging the ball everywhere. Defense, was there any defense really? Devin White did have 11 tackles, tackle for a loss. The Dolphins' top tackler was Willie Gay. He had 7, 1 for tackle for a loss, and they also had a half sack, who was the sack leading here. Cansey from the Bucks had 2. Vita Vea had 1.5. Wagner 1.5 for the Dolphins. Gutierrez with another one, and Hoffman also had 1. Douglas had 1. Man, there's sacks for everybody. Deshaun Elliott had 1 pick for the Dolphins, and then Simmons also had 1 for the Bucks. But man, what a game. 47-48. The Dolphins get the victory here. Next game I wanted to look at, and like I said, I picked a couple of them here, but the Condors at the Titans.
Yeah, I watched this one too.
I did see a little bit of this one. Again, Penguins is taking over the Titans, and he's just kind of getting things going there. But I think he's going to be the guy knocking on the door of the Condors in the next couple of seasons. So 473 yards, offensive gain yards there for the Condors, 272 for the Titans. 183 rushing yards for the Condors, 87 for the Titans, 290 passing yards, 185 for the Titans. Scrolling down to the turnovers, both teams had 3 turnovers. Third down conversions, 8 to the Condors had 8, and the Titans only had 4. Time of possession, 26:55 to 13:05, so that was a little bit heavy on the Condor side. Anthony Richardson, again, with another 5 touchdown pass game. This time he did have a couple interceptions, though. 19 to 25, 304, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks, 76 completion percentage. Doran Bragg got a couple throws in there for the Titans. Looks like he's kind of going with Nick Samuels, though. 13 to 25, 1 touchdown, did have 3 picks, but he is a very young, unpolished player. 19 carries for Taylor for 106 yards for the Condors. His backup got 9 for 59. Haskins looks like he was the guy on the red zone to get the ball in for the Titans. 4 for 42, but 2 touchdowns. Spears 6 for 41 and a touchdown. Looking at your receiving stats, Downs again with multiple catches, 12 for 154. Somebody cover this guy. 3 touchdowns again. So it looks like he's the favorite target so far right now for the Condors. Lowry for the Titans, 106. I don't know where I got the 136 from, but 106 yards in that game, no touchdowns. Taylor also putting in some catches here, 2 for 88 and a touchdown. And then moving on to the defensive stats here, we're looking at the top tacklers of the game. Tennessee did have 2 guys with 13 tackles. Hughes and Leak both having 13. Hughes had 2 for a loss. The top tackler for the Condors was Moore with 9 sacks here in this game. 1.5 for Gallimore. Carter, Falcon guy here getting one for the Titans, and then Chubb also putting in one, and then Stewart getting that other half sack for the Condors. Who picked the ball off here? Richie Grant, another ex-Falcon. He had 2 in this game. Leak had 1 for the Titans. Foster had 1 also for the Titans, and Blackman also had the other one. So that's a look at that game, man. That was a good game as well. 45-38 there. Orlando gets the win over the Tennessee. And then last but not least, and we'll end it on this one, the New York Giants. This game, because we've talked about all these offensive games and stuff, so let's look at one that looked like a little bit more defensively minded. And again, these are guys that are kind of like not playing for top spots in the playoffs or nothing right now, but they're playing hard. 379 yards for the Giants, 258 for the Chiefs, 194 yards rushing for the Giants, 130 for the Chiefs, 185 offensive passing yards for the Giants, 128. Skipping down to turnovers, the Chiefs. That's one thing we've seen. The Chiefs the last couple of weeks have turned the ball over quite a few times. 4 in this game, 2 for the Giants. Third down conversions, 5-4 for the Giants. They're getting the nod. Time of possession, straight down the middle, 20-20 on each side there. Looking at the stats from this game, Norris, your rookie quarterback for the Giants, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Patty Mahomes, though, not looking like Patty Mahomes with 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times, only 9 of 27. We've seen all these games where guys are almost like 80% completion percentage, and he just got wrecked up this game. So hate to see that, but there was some defense that showed up in this game. Speaking of showing up in this game, Barkley showed up with 17 carries for 154 yards and a touchdown. Did have a fumble. Again, the rookie here from the Kansas City Chiefs, 19 of 84 for a touchdown as well. And you got your guys filling in there with the backup carries. Receiving yards, let's see. Hyatt had 2 for 92, 2 touchdowns. So both his catches went for dingers here for the Giants. Nash had 4 for 83. Another rookie guy here, Stanford for the Giants, 3 for 58. Clinton had 2 for 45, and Barkley also threw in another 4 catches for 34 yards. So he was a big play guy all over the field. Looking at your defensive stats, top tackler, we had 10 for Bolton for the Chiefs. He also had 2 tackles for a loss and a sack. Top tackler for the Giants was Madison with 9. Top sack leader in the game was Bolton. Bates for the Jets. Williams also for the not the Jets, the Giants. Williams also had 1 for the Giants, and Kayvon also had 1 here for the Giants as well. Interception leader Jesse Bates, ex-Falcon guy, picking off the ball 3 times in this game, so he was making his presence felt on the backside of that. And Ellington also had 1 for the Chiefs. Davis had 1 for the Chiefs, and then McKinney threw another one in for the Giants. So this was a good game. Like I said, all these other just roll it up and down the field, man. Just this game was actually looked like a more hard-fought defensive style of game.
All right, let's look at what we're looking for in week 16, 17, and 18 as we wrap things up. Seahawks and Texans. Seahawks are such a powerful team, and the Texans have really got that offense going. I think that's just going to be a fun one to watch to see which one of those teams, do they both play great? Do one kind of come down to the other? That should just be a really fun game. Dolphins and Ravens, all this offensive firepower for the Dolphins. I can tell you one guy who ain't going to stand for it. It's Mr. Nipples and his Ravens. If he's around and if he plays this one, he's going to be trying to show that defensive prowess that we know he is known for. Ravens, Jesus, that's who I was just talking about. Denver and the Bengals, Trey and the Lions. This is just going to be an instant classic, possible OMFL Bowl 108 preview. Do both these guys show it all? Do they hold something back? I don't know, but it's going to be a really fun one to go ahead and watch that one. What's another game here? Jets and Raiders have possibility of maybe being a really good one. Condors and Bills could go a long way to these playoff positions. The Condors are sort of living on the razor's edge in some of these games. The Bills, though, man, he has really played great here these last few weeks. That one could go a really long way. How about week number 17? What are you looking for?
Week number 17, talking about the Bills. Well, the first one to look at is the Browns. The Bills here, a little Koch is also, if I'm not mistaken, playing for playoff spot as well. So him and Hurt are battling out for that. So this would be a good game to watch as well. Dolphins, Falcons, with all the firepower that the Dolphins have been showing, this could be either a really intriguing game or one to not watch. But I got a feeling it's going to be one that's going to be a lot of firepower going on with that game. I also think that this one, the Jets are kind of in the driver's seat, I think, in the AFC East, but the Patriots always seem to play really tough versus the Jets. So if the Jets are really trying to push to get that number one spot, the Patriots could play spoiler here and cause some problems for the Jets trying to get that number one spot solidified down in the AFC side. Looking at big matchup maybe in the AFC West, the Broncos and the Raiders. Both these guys always seem to play like really extremely close games when they play each other. And I see the Broncos have kind of improved, I think, over the last couple weeks. And so could he possibly be a stumbling block for the Raiders trying to stay in the race for the crown in the AFC West, because the Chargers are, I think, a game ahead. So this one will be an interesting one to watch, see if the Raiders can solidify themselves as possibly the leader in the AFC West. Big matchup here, playoff implications, Bengals, Denver versus the Steelers and Cincyburg. You could never go wrong to watch one of these games versus these two guys, because you are assured there's going to be some fireworks in this game. Both guys like to fling the ball around the field, and so you cannot go wrong watching this game. I think both guys are pretty much wrapped up for a playoff spot. I think maybe if it would have to take a monumental fallout from one of them to miss the playoffs, I think so. But this one could have seeding implications abound in this game. And then last but not least, the Seahawks versus the Cardinals. I think the NFC West is still up in the air. This could be a big matchup that could possibly come down to who wins this division. And that also depends on the money, where, you know, if he's still taking off for the newborn. But this will be a good game as well, nonetheless. So both these guys always looking to throw the ball down the field, stretch the field. You look at their game stats, it's always a lot of verts and a lot of big plays. So this could be a good matchup to watch.
One thing I wish Madden did that the NFL does is last 2 weeks or like divisional games, like those last divisional games. It just makes it so much fun to go into those last 2 weeks with these really pivotal matchups. Now, week 18, I would just say there could be a lot of teams sitting players, might be some upsets in this one. I'm just going to talk about the games that I think could be possibly a really good game. Buccaneers, Falcons. These two guys are rivals. These two guys have very similar teams. Both have not played the season that neither one of you thought you would have. That could just be a really fun game to watch as we wrap up the season. Chargers and Bengals. Chargers are going to be fighting for a playoff spot. They're going to be looking to move up in seeding. The Bengals, are they sitting people by now? Is their seed locked up? That could just be a really fun one to see exactly how that one plays out. Jets and Browns, same thing. Jets, they've had a really, really solid season. Browns, a little up and down. They've played some really close teams, some close games. Are they fighting for a wild card spot? Are the Jets fighting for one of those seeding spots? That's going to be a ton of fun to watch. Condors and Texans. Last week of the season, Texans has been playing spoiler, a lot like I'm trying to do. Condors living on razor's edge. They need to get better seeding so they're not having to fight their way all the way through the playoffs. Where does week 18 find both of these teams? That, I think, is just going to be a really fun game to watch. Steelers and Ravens. Steelers looking again like a lot of teams continue to work their way up in that seeding. We've seen Cincyberg go on those magical runs before. Is Nipples plugged in by now, or is he off doing one of his 200 vacations? I don't know what's happening, but that just on paper is going to be a really fun game to watch. Cardinals, Panthers in week number 18. Cardinals may need a win to get in here. Panthers might be sitting people by now. I don't know what's going to happen with this game, but that also has a lot of potential to have a lot of eyeballs on it when we get to week number 18. All right, now it is time for the OMFL news, and I got to be honest, my guy Denbrew got me the news really late this week, and to be honest, I don't know if it's going to work the way I want it to, but let me see if it plugs in. Actually, let me just open it. No, it's not. Okay, here, let me make sure I get it working. It's just going to take me 1 second here. We'll get Denbrew in here for the OMFL. Denbrew, take it away, buddy.
Welcome back to the OMFL News. I am Denbrew. This is season 108, and we are in week 15. 2 quick segments this week. Let's get right into it. Nobody wants to hear me ramble anyway. New segment this week called Booze and Brews. Pretty simple. A boo, something I don't like. A brew, something I would raise a glass and give you a cheers for. So let's talk about the brews. Start with the good news. Shout out to all the OMFL coaches for the way you guys have been handling the scheduling. This entire cycle, the scheduling, in my opinion, has been spot on. Everybody's been great with communication. Getting your games posted, getting your games played. We've had our fair share of sims and CPUs, but those things are going to happen. So I think great job, actually been exceptional on the scheduling this cycle. Another brew for you guys is all the content that you guys have been putting out on a weekly basis. Every time I get on Neon Sports, I always see new articles written each week. On our Discord page, the player snapshots that get uploaded, that's awesome. There's been a couple folks doing some weekly highlights, and of course, Nate and Maniac with the weekly PPL shows. Awesome. Another brew is to the guys that do all the cool games each season, the fantasy games, the pick'em, the gold sheets. If you don't participate, something you ought to look into. It's an easy way to get some XP, and they're actually a lot of fun, and those guys work really hard at doing that each week. I got a lone brew this week, and it is to my, did I say brew? I got a lone boo this week, and it is to my Bengals defense. We are terrible. We are at the bottom of nearly every category. I give up a ton of yards every game. I don't get turnovers. I don't get sacks. And this defense that I have is made up of good players. So we're like a 92, I think, overall in the game. My defense is. But I did realize something the other day. As bad as I don't want this to be the case, it wasn't Madden. It wasn't the sliders. It wasn't my opponents running cheesy plays. It was me. I'm the problem.
They ask you how you are, you just
I'm
have to
terrible.
say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
I don't know
You
what to
just
do
can't
about
get
it.
into it because they would never
So on that
understand.
note, the boo of the week goes to me. Boo, Denbrew, boo. Back to Nate, back to Maniac. See ya.
Thank you, Mr. Denbrew. He sounds like he needs a chamomile tea with some honey. He was still laying in those silk sheets this morning, waking up, doing a little OMFL news with us before he took off to earn his millions of dollars. Maniac, we are an hour deep, and we just got finished with reviews. You're killing me with these reviews. All right, let's talk about our special topic. Number one, and these were just 3 quick questions that I kind of threw out to Mr. Maniac. I didn't mean it like you're going to talk too long. I just meant like these were just 3 random questions. What is your biggest team surprise so far this season, Mr. Maniac?
I I struggled with this one, as weird as it sounds, because I went back and forth. I was trying to figure out like what surprises me, like from like them not making what we thought from them, or so I kind of broke it up. My up team that it surprised me is the Chargers. I think with the West that's out there, with the Raiders, the Chiefs had kind of solidified so far from the first of this Madden, like he was going to kind of run that ship out there and stuff, and the Chargers, Black Cats slipped on over, switched teams, but man, those Chargers have been rolling. They're like a top 10 offensive team right now in the league. He's putting up a lot of points. He's got like 20 passing touchdowns, 22 rushing touchdowns. And his rushing and passing attacks have been phenomenal so far. And I think really his rushing attack is like with the players that he has for running back. It kind of shocks me how he's doing on the rushing. And so I think you look at that, and I think you say, man, the Chargers are swinging on the upside. He's a 10-4 record, vibing for a top playoff spot in the AFC side, and you gotta give it to him. I think that has to be an up and coming team. And then you look at from his defensive stats. Yeah, they're not too great. I think that's probably the one side of his team they can improve on. But man, when you take a team like that, when they switch and you don't know what you're going to get sometimes, and he comes in and takes that team over and right away makes a few changes and has that team competing for one of the top spots in a strong AFC division conference. That's you have to give kudos to him for that. And my down team, which I don't think you have to give much when you talk to this guy about his team being down, but the Buccaneers, he's been the last 2 seasons in the playoffs year in, year out, and all of a sudden like he met the road grader, whatever it was, he just couldn't get past to that point in the season. Only got 4 wins on the season. He has improved a lot over the last couple of weeks. He's been competing with some of the top teams again. You're starting to see some of those numbers, but just on the defensive side of the ball, he's last in the NFC on defense. When you look at all
he's
the stats
last
for
from the
offense.
OMFL.
Yeah, so he's just really struggled mightily this season, and I think that's just like been a extreme surprise from that point. He's still getting the offense and making a statement or whatever that he's looking maybe towards next season. But anytime you have a guy that was like 1 win away, basically getting the OMFL to go into the last spot, pretty much the next season, it's always kind of a shocker, eyebrow raiser, whatever you want to call it. But that's my 2 teams.
Yeah, as per usual, I didn't have a ton of time to sort of think through this, but when I think about my biggest surprise, I think it could go either way, right? Biggest surprise in the positive, biggest surprise in the negative. And there are a few teams that we could have talked about, right. Whether it's, I'm going to save one. I almost had one that I was going to put out there, and I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to save that one. I think if you were just gun to my head, tell me the team that has surprised you the most this season.
Do it now.
I've got to go with Little Koch in the Cleveland Browns for the positive. I played him in the preseason, and I knew that quarterback, receiver, tight end, running back, that combo, like he had really figured things out. You can see here on the stats, he is one of the top teams in the league, top 5 offense. He's got 30 passing touchdowns, and this guy can do it all. He's scoring 30 points per game. And on the defensive side, maybe not playing up to his own personal standard, but he is still right there hovering right at that top 10 position. He's like somewhere, kind of hovers between that 8 and 12. He sort of bounces around there. He's got 32 sacks on the season. He's got 5 fumbles on the season. He's got 30 picks on this season. He's doing a great job in the passing yards per game. I mean, this is one of those teams that I knew could get over the hump, but he is playing so much better than I thought he was going to with a young quarterback, with an offense that hasn't had years and years and years to find that consistency together. They're all really young. He's got his team in prime position, sitting here at 9-5. I love what the Cleveland Browns have done. Now I want to kind of flip it a little bit. Instead of talking about team surprises, what is the player surprise? So out of this entire season, who's been the player that's been the biggest surprise for you?
This was another tough one for me because I was looking at stats and looking like, what would be a surprise. I think I'm kind of surprised to see that the Steelers rookie running back is in the top. Is the top rusher in the league, especially with what he's got in his backup. I can't think of the guy's name right now; it just slipped my mind. But the big thumper that he had there, and he was doing really well with him. But he went out and he drafted this guy. He's leading the league in rushing, 1,477 yards, 21 touchdowns. He's only fumbled once. You don't see that a lot from rookie guys going and drafting a guy like that. With already having I think a superstar running back or whatever, but man, this guy's just been phenomenal. But I think if you look at who's been here for a while, and I know once I call out his name, I know Roger's going to go like whatever, But the Texans, the wide receiver Brandon DeMarco. The first couple seasons, he did not put up very many points whatsoever. Didn't put up a lot of stats. He was always like solid. And last season, I think he started kind of stepping up a little bit last season towards the end. But if you look at his stats this season, which I'm just now pulling them up, last season he had 17 touchdowns. But so far this season, we started out slow. And Roger started out slow, but all of a sudden, like week 5, 6, or whatever, something clicked for him. And Brandon DeMarco has been on fire. He's got 72 receptions so far on the season, 1,600 yards. He's only like 190 yards away from surpassing what he had last season. And he's averaging more per game, per catch, 14 touchdowns. So in his rack yards are up tremendously from last season. So I think if you look at a guy from the standpoint, we all know Roger likes to throw the ball down the field and bombs away. But I think you look at how struggling for the first part of the season to this point now, and in the Madden stats, he shows like he's the 4th receiver in that list. I think that has to be somebody you have to say, oh wow, he's making a difference besides from what he was to where he is now.
Can we get this man a profile photo, Roger? What is going on over there in Houston? This guy's sitting here with a silhouette. He not even good enough to actually get a real profile photo.
He's a shadow man.
Surprising stats. I'll pick on myself. I'm not picking two, but I would say Yannick has been super surprising. He is set. He is done in New Orleans. He will probably be a Houston Texan next season. But the way this guy finished the season last year, super high hopes, and the wheels completely fell off of it as I moved in to this season. There are a lot of teams and players that we could talk about, but as much as it sort of pains me to give these flowers, you have to give flowers to Kel Grubbs and what Trey has done with a rookie quarterback. Rookie quarterbacks suck to deal with. They are tough to deal with. They throw lots of interceptions. It just happens. But overall, this guy is having a hell of a season. 29 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, 62% completion percentage. He's also getting it done on the running game. This guy's able to rush for 30, 40, 60. He's had the 100-yard game, I'm pretty sure. He's getting it done all over. He is a problem. And in the playoffs, teams are going to have to take note of where Kel Grubbs is, what he's doing, and if you think you've got it all covered up, he's going to probably bust it loose on you and get out there and make a big play. I also say just you've got to give props to what should be the starting quarterback for the NFC Pro Bowl, and that's Brad With. I said I wouldn't give 2, but like I got to pause and just say 40 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. I would have never thought this. 70% completion percentage, 3,600 yards. This would have been my pick if Kale would not have been a rookie and would not have been getting it done on the ground as well. Brad is just having an outstanding season for the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm going to know it firsthand because I got to play him a little later tonight. All right. Who is the one team? Our last question before we get to the mailbag. Who's the one team that you think could win the next upcoming offseason? That could be trades. It could be salary cap. It could be free agents. It could be draft picks, however you want to define it. Who's the one team that you think is really set up to win this next offseason?
Yeah, I think this is where I get off in the left field and I talk so much because I have so many things so many different directions I could go. And you know how I am. I get on one trail and I like to start talking about it and stuff. I think if you look at salary cap situations, I think one team has to come to mind is your Saints. I think you're going to have like 70 something million next offseason. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think you're one that could really turn things around. I mean, one thing is like when you're on the bottom, you're going to have some higher draft picks. So obviously your draft picks are going to be high, and that's going to give you ability. But if you also got the cap space to start spending to improve your roster through free agency as well, I think that's a big plus. And so, and I had 3 different teams I was kind of looking at, and I couldn't really decide. You're one of them, and I just for that, I think you're going to be very improved next season from that situation. And then you look at the Chiefs. I don't know what their cap space looks. It says right now they got 34 million, but I know that changes because of the next season they get a cap bump. But I know he's still paying Patty Mahomes a lot of money. How much money he's going to have? But you know he's kind of struggled this season. But if you look at his draft picks for next season, he's got 6 draft picks in the top 100 picks. The Kansas City Chiefs do. I know he traded away Christian McCaffrey. He's traded away a couple other guys. But anytime you got 6 picks in the top 100 of the draft, you got an opportunity to really make an impact for your team for the next season. And so that could be something to watch there. And then the Broncos, another team from the AFC West, I think also have that ability as well. They've got, I think, 5 in the top 100 draft picks. I'm trying to look right quick at his cap space. He don't have much cap space, so there's not a whole lot of room unless he's got a whole lot of guys coming off the books for this next season. But he's got the draft capital to make an impact for the next season. And then you have to look at also the Mounties. The Mounties are another team that have pretty good draft capital as well. I think he's going to have some space on his cap also. But looking at his draft, and I wrote the other ones down, but I didn't write his down. That was right before. the show, but the Mounties, their draft picks, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got 4 picks, but a couple of them are going to be really high. He's going to have 2 in the top 10, looks like, unless something happens with the Giants. And then he's going to have 4 in the top 100. So, again, anytime you have that many draft picks in the top 100, you have the opportunity to make an impact on your team roster for the next season.
Maniac has left me exactly 0 teams I can talk about because he talked about everyone out there who could possibly do well.
What the dog doing?
The dog of the offseason. There's so many teams I could talk about. The Bucks, the Falcons, you got to talk about those two. Not trying to turn this into an NFC love fest, but like they have the franchise quarterback. They have the playmakers on the outside. They're going to have great draft picks. It's going to be scary what both of those teams can do. Probably not a ton of money, but enough to go out there and make noise. I could talk about the Steelers, right? I think the Steelers are really set up to make some moves and could really he drafts well. He makes really smart moves. I think he's going to be out there making noise. I could talk about the Browns, but I do think they're going to make the playoffs. But a young team, probably going to have a lot of salary cap. There's so many other teams. I wanted to talk about the Tennessee Titans. I don't love the quarterback situation. He's already got 2 rookie quarterbacks on the roster, plus he's got Levis on the roster. He's probably going to go draft him one. But, man, Penguins with an offseason to go make moves, that guy knows exactly how to build a team. It will not surprise me if Penguins goes out and wins this offseason. He was my, 1B team that I was going to talk about. But I got to talk about our friend Roger, man. Nice. I think he's going to be a big spender in free agency. He's got the offense. He's going to go get a quarterback that's going to have a big arm. He's going to have the draft picks. He always drafts well. He's going to add to that offensive firepower. I don't know if it will equal wins for Roger because of his own real life medical history that he's got to deal with, and that might keep him from being able to be fully plugged in. But I'm telling you, he's going to be a team that everybody's going to look back and take note. That's a team that can be super duper dangerous. I'm going with the Texans to be able to win this next coming offseason. All right, let's dive into some of these questions, and then I got to get out of here because we're already an hour and 12 minutes deep. Let's go, Trey. We are 3/4 of the way through the season. What are your biggest surprises, upsets, or expectations that were met at this point? I'm not going to give you credit for that one, Trey, because we basically covered that exact thing in our actual Press Pass Live today. So not your fault. It's a great question, but it was actually some of the subjects that we covered today. Bill says with only 3 weeks left in season 108, there's still 9 teams within 2 games of each other in the AFC. Who do you think ends up with the number 1 seed in the AFC? Bill does such a great job of keeping us in the loop. Let me tell you who is there right now. This one actually shocked me because I do believe he's been living on razor's edge, but right now the Condors are your number 1 seed, the Chargers your number 2 seed, the Jets your number 3, the Bengals at number 4. All of those are 10-win teams. The number 5 would be Dolphins at 9-5, 6 Browns at 9-5, Raiders at 9-5, but a bunch of other teams at 9-5, 8-6, and 7-7. Who do you think gets the number 1 seed in the AFC?
I mean, that's a good question, but man, it's tough. I mean, there's I literally see like there's probably a legit four guys there that really could like move up and down anyway. You know, you've seen the Jets kind of lose one. I mean, by all standards, looking on paper, he shouldn't have lost to the Falcons. So he lost that one, but you know he bounced back the next week. But you know you've got the Jets, Bengals, the Condors, and the Chargers. I think my dark horse here may have the easier path to winning out. Could possibly be the Chargers. I think the Chargers have, to me, a really good chance to possibly sneak in and get that 1 seed. In fact, I think I want to say I thought it was last week when I looked at the playoff graphic, he was actually the number 1 seed or maybe number 2. So as you can see, there's not a lot of space in between each one of them, and I think it can change. But I think the dark horse there would be the Chargers, but if I had to put my money down on it right now, I would say the Bengals.
Thank you, Cincy, for that photo. That does help a ton. I think if no one has a super easy ride, I would say easiest of the ride will be the Condors or Jets. The Bengals, man, they're going to be fighting some heavy hitters. The Chargers are going to be fighting some heavy hitters. I mean, I guess Chargers, Jets, Condors, sort of on paper the easiest schedule, but I've seen how tight the Titans played the Condors. We know Big Hurt and the Bills are rocking and rolling. Rodgers never going to get off the gas pedal. He's all gas, no brakes, so you can't lay up on him. This is just going to be a tough one to call.
Yeah, it is.
If gun to my head though, man, I guess I would take the Chargers. But none of these are going to be easy. None of these teams are going to sit back and wait. If I had to give maybe a wild card in that, possibly the Dolphins. I think he might get a couple of games there with a CPU, and that's going to help him out a ton. Really great question, though, and thank you for the photo. That helps out a ton. Roger says, with several teams in need of a quarterback this offseason, how would you rank the top 5 incoming rookie quarterbacks? We actually did that last week, Roger, and so I suggest that you go back and watch that one. A lot of good quarterbacks. I do think it's 3 deep at the tippy top. I think everybody, 4 through 6 is sort of like middle ground. They're going to a middle tier. They're going to need some work. I think it's 3 deep, though, whenever you think about the top guys. With so many quarterback needy teams, do you think that there'll be a flurry of activity in the offseason from trades from teams trying to go get their guy? What do you think about that? You think we're going to see a lot of quarterback trades, either guys that are backups that have been built? Like I think about the Titans. I've already spoke to their situation. I think about the Browns. He's got a situation. What do you think is going to happen with the quarterbacks this year?
Well, looking at how we run the leagues and stuff, if there's going to be an off season that you're going to make a move to try to get a established quarterback, this is the off season to do it, because after that you're not going to. I mean, if you're trying to get a trade for a quarterback, you're looking for the next Madden more or less. Because, but I think with you're talking about your guy, you're going to be letting him go. There's going to be somebody out here in the OMFL saying, I can make that guy work for me, and there's going to be, like I said before, there's going to be several, I think, backup quarterbacks have kind of built up, like the real high tier 78, 79-ish, low 80s that are going to probably find their way to the free agency, and there's going to be some guys that are going to need a quarterback that don't want to pay a whole lot for one, and they're going to see one of these guys that are sitting out there that's got some good stats and the things that they like, and they're going to say, you know what, I think I'm going to take a flyer for him to be my starting quarterback, possibly then draft somebody underneath him to develop for this last season or two or whatever before the next Madden. So I think there could be a lot of things that could take place with the quarterback needy teams, and it just depends on the owner who's sitting here looking that are saying, like, I need a quarterback. You obviously are one that you've kind of made known, I need a quarterback. A lot of other people haven't come out and say, I just need a quarterback, but your team always comes to mind first. There's probably other teams out there that are probably sitting there saying, I need a quarterback. But yeah, I think if there's an off season to do it, this is the off season to do it, because after that you're kind of spinning your wheels for nothing. I
think the last couple of off seasons have proven that guys are not going to go make massive moves for these quarterbacks on the block. I find that that's probably going to be pretty dry unless guys let go of dudes really cheap. I think the moves you're going to see is going to be for backup positions. Those who really need a quarterback are going to go draft one. You may see one or two teams like the Texans possibly be a big spender in free agency, but free agency over the last few weeks or seasons has proven that guys are not going to be really big spenders in free agency and probably not big spenders in the draft. If they are, they're trying to move up to get one of those top rated rookies. And so I think it'll be a mixed bag. I don't see a Hendon Hooker. He just got put in chat. Rogers, Robinson, whatever his name is, DR3 or whatever for the Browns. Like, I am not going to see any team go give a lot of capital for one of these guys because you can't take them with them. And that is where people's minds are shifting. It's where mine is. They're going to want to take guys that they can take with them, which is why I'm letting my quarterback walk because I'm going to be in cap hell in Real Life Saints next Madden, and I cannot take a $300 million quarterback with me. If you have that space, then you maybe don't care. You can have a Ryder, Colt, one of these other big-time guys, Brad Wythe. You can take those guys with you if you have a lot of cap space, but if not, you're going to see guys trying to make moves up there to get to the tippy top and grab one. Colin, are we playing 4 or 5 seasons this year? We're playing 5 for sure. I don't know that I can make it through 6. I hate this Madden, and until we find settings that make this game fun, this is the least enjoyable Madden I've ever played. So I don't know that I can hang in there with 6. Plus, NCAA is dropping this summer, so I don't know if we're going to have the drive, but maybe we do. Maybe we do get through 6. Long question from Bird. Basically, he's asking if we would ever throw in a sim season. I know the TFL used to do that a lot. I am not against it, but I don't see us ever doing it. Maybe we do. I'm for it if the board would back it up, but the problem is it robs from guys who get older rosters handed to them. They didn't ask for that. They didn't build that, and to not give them a chance to kind of work their way out of that roster just feels unfair. Way back in the day, we used to sim season 1, just like out of the gates, let's do that. But with imports, we don't really need to do that. You get that sort of influx of talent with your own import. And so simming a season sort of robs guys who have win now rosters. Or maybe if it's season 3 when we play season 1 and 2 and then we sim season 3, then it robs those guys who built season 1 and 2. And now in season 3, they're ready to win. And now you took a whole season for them. And now their guys have aged and now they lost that opportunity to go for a championship. So I understand the theory behind it. I don't foresee us ever doing it. I think those ideas, like my dumb idea about a coordinator, those are great for a second league. And I think what I'm totally thinking out loud here. I've not had this conversation with Maniac, and I'm not putting on the spot. I'm actually asking him not to respond because I don't want there to be any pressure. But I think what we're going to see is with the introduction of NCAA, with us being able to run leagues, is the Deuce may turn into a true second league that isn't exactly the same, where we try some of these radical ideas. We try sim seasons. We try coordinators. We try, some of these radical ideas that we have just to see, would guys really want to play in something that's completely different with maybe the same rule set or something like that, because we'll have the NCAA that could be ran exactly the same, but with college players. So I think that's maybe the direction that we are moving. And that's going to do it for the mailbag. Now let's turn it over to Manny. Oh, no, we've got one more Press Pass Live section. I almost forget, and I almost messed it all up because the wife is home, and she's going to be expecting me to walk out here. Denbrew, take it away for the OMFL News number 2.
I am back. Segment 2. Going to try and make this one a little bit quicker. I didn't like that I was almost 3 minutes long on the first segment. So let's get into it. Some quick stats that I looked at from the last 3 weeks played. So weeks 12, 13, and 14. Check out what Trevor Lawrence has been doing. 913 yards of the last 3 games, thrown 12 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. Trevor Lawrence for the Jaguars, killing it down there in Jacksonville. Running back, Tony Pollard, 366 yards. But what's even more impressive, the guy's averaging 7 yards a carry, over 7 yards a carry. Crazy numbers. Tyreek Hill in Miami, 428 yards. He's hauled in 6 touchdowns. But here's the crazy part to me. He's averaging over 28 yards a catch That's bonkers. On the defensive side of the ball, looking at a team, the Browns, over the last 3 games are only giving up about 250 yards a game, which is super impressive, right? One more on the defensive side of the ball over the last 3 games, the Jets are absolutely just stopping the run. They are surrendering less than 70 yards on the ground to opposing offenses, so that's crazy. And just one other quick note, I noticed these 3 teams have went streaking. Yeah, I said streaking. The Lions have won 8 straight. The Cowboys and the Condors have won 7 straight. Awesome job by those 3 teams. Great job, OMFL. I'll see you next week. Back to Nate. Back to Maniac. See you.
Thank you, Mr. Denbrew, for the OMFL news again this week. Maniac, I'm turning it over to you for one final thought.
Well, I'm long-winded.
Hey, we're under an hour and a half. I mean, just barely under, but we did make it under an hour and a half. So,
No, I really tried really hard to get faster. I still got to get better at doing that. But as always, love being a part of Press Pass Live and part of the community. I'm looking forward to. Like you said, some of those ideas that you threw out there, I'm looking forward to talking about some of those things because that did pique my interest, and so I think that would be something kind of cool. I'm also looking forward to NCAA. I know it's EA, they may mess it up, but that was my game that I really cut my teeth on. Really, far as the dynasty mode and stuff, and so those things are just always a fun thing to do, and has a lot of stuff outside of just playing games. So I am cautiously hoping that they have all that stuff back in the game, because if they do, it'll make for some fun content and things that you can do outside of playing games and stuff. So looking forward to that and getting stuff rolling with that. But I'm enjoying, the league, playing with the league and stuff. I know that sliders are always just like, the gameplay and different stuff that's always like a swallow hard and, take your medicine type of thing and stuff. But I'm hopeful that we can get to a point where, the majority of the league can really enjoy the game and have fun with it and go forward and just have a great time together with these guys, because we have a great community, and I really enjoy chatting with you guys, even just like in playing the shooters and stuff. We have so much fun in those. We cut up and laugh up so much during the night and stuff. So it's always fun times when it's stuff like that.
I agree, man. It's been a great show. I want to reiterate things that Denbrew said. I love the content. I love the highlights. I love you guys stretching yourselves, doing some stuff. I miss the extra shows. I know Big Hurt's been busy, Cincy's been busy, but I miss those extra shows. It just added another little layer to another perspective, another kind of voice. He did say that, Roger. I appreciate you guys lively in the chat today. Appreciate you hanging out with me on my games, which are not fun to watch. I know it, but thank you for coming and hanging out with me. I'm going to be back on tonight playing the Seattle Seahawks. Trey, I missed your message. I just got it too late. So let's work on getting you here next week. Work was all work. And I just didn't have a chance. I barely got OMFL news up and running today. So I love the direction we're going. Start plugging back in if you've had a tough season. Votes are going to be up. Pro Bowl, that's all going to be happening here in the next week and a half or so. So lots of stuff to look forward to. Hopefully we can call some games for the playoffs. Should be a ton of fun. I cannot wait to do it. Guys, I love you. I appreciate you. Now let's go have some fun.
Carol Baskin killed her husband, whacked him.
I don't know
Can't
why.
convince me that it didn't happen.
Maniac cannot hear this.
Fed 'em
I got to figure out how
tigers,
to make
they
that work.
snacking. What's happening? Carol Baskin.
I
Yeah, I
love
can't hear
that
it.
Carol Baskin's jingle. So you have to go back and listen to that one. Guys, I love you. Enjoy the rest of your week. Remember, take care of yourself. Take care of those around you. And I see a DM in my books that I don't want to open, but it's probably going to be ugly towards me. I hate those ugly DMs. I wish they were all beautiful and flowery, but they're not. Guys, I love you. I got to get out of here. Peace.
Deuces.
Smash that like and subscribe.